Praise to the Lord, the Almighty, the King of creation.
Well, hello everybody. I'm Pastor Michael, and what I want to do is I want to talk to you about getting engaged after divorce. If you like my video, would you please hit the subscribe button that's right down there and give me a thumbs up, like, and then hit the bell. And then anytime I do a video on YouTube, you'll be able to see that um, available to you. What I'm going to be talking about is I'm going to be talking about what it means to get engaged to get married. Okay, I have been creating a playlist series on dating again after divorce, and I think the steps are important that we follow these steps, especially once we've been divorced, because we need to understand that a little bit. So what I'm going to do, my friends, is I'm going to be sharing some slides on the screen behind me so you can kind of get an idea of what I do for a living. I'm a spiritual health consultant. I have an online school at Heart to Heart Refinement School.teachable.com. You can learn a lot about me there. I also have a website, Heart to Heart Refinement Ministries.org. I'll put those links below as well. And I'm going to get started here, and I'm going to put some slides on the screen. And I want to talk about the logo on the wall behind me. And when you first opened up this video, you've seen an animation of this video of this logo here. This basically says Heart to Heart Refinement Ministries, discipling others from brokenness to wholeness. And I understand that when we go through a marriage and we've been married for a long time and we get a divorce, it can be something that breaks our heart. We can be broken inside because of that. We don't find the healing that we need along the way, we're going to fail in another marriage. So we need to go through the steps. We need to find that healing, okay? And on the wall here is a house. I believe this starts in the home, okay? And as a spiritual father, I want to teach you a few things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a slide on the screen here. And as you can see, this slide is green in color. And I want you to be aware that when we have new life, we're going to have new growth, okay? So the green represents new growth. And from winter can be a pretty harsh time for plants and roses or fruit trees or whatever. But when spring comes around, we always see the green growth, okay? I want to remind you that even after divorce, new life can happen if you follow the right steps. So let's get started. Let's take a look at the steps that we just came from, okay? So what we're going to do, first of all, we're going to look at part 7 on our playlist series, Dating Again with Jesus. In this video, we have to identify 3 things. Number 1, we have to identify accountability. Number 2, we got to identify what it means to be engaged. And number 3, we got to identify security, okay? Before I talk about these 3 things, let's do a recap on the first 6 steps of dating after divorce. In step 1, we realized we wanted to start dating again, so we decided to go out and start meeting people. Perhaps you might meet someone at church, work, or through a family member or a friend. Once you meet someone, you need to get acquainted with that person, but you may be a little hesitant to start a new friendship with someone. So we learned that we needed to build confidence. Please refer to the video link that's going to be right up here on building confidence, okay? In order to do that, we need to be dedicated to the fact we are moving on and starting something new. So when we build confidence, we need to understand that we need to leave the past alone. We need to not bring those past mistakes into a future relationship, okay? So in step 2, we had one date, and we decided that this person was not right for us, and that was okay. But now we have met someone, and we have had a second date or more, and now we are starting to build a foundation with that person. This is where we need to start to build trust with that person and prove to be trustworthy ourselves, and that means we must be compassionate to listen to the other person to build that trust. So here is that video link also to that video there. Okay. As you can tell, I removed that slide off the screen. I'm going to talk to you for a minute about why I put the slides on the screen, okay? And why I read from them. There's a lot that we can miss if we don't read from the slides. And so I read the slides to you, just like on my online school. I read the slides and then I make points on that. I think we get more out of doing that than if I was just speaking to you, because if you're reading it, and it's like you're reading a book, okay? So if you're reading the Bible, somebody needs to interpret what that means. So that's what I do. I do a lot of that. And so I'll read my notes to you, but then I want to make points on that, okay? So let me back up and let's put another slide on the screen for you. Okay, we're going to move on to what we learned in step 3. We began dating our friend, but what did we learn in step 3 that helped us? We learned about sacrifice. We learned that dating was about spending time together to build intimacy. We learned to investigate each other's hearts. We learned that dating was not about sex, but about exposing secrets of the heart and about sharing our strengths and our weaknesses. And again, you can see that link to that video right up there. Okay. So now I want to talk about what we learned in step 4. We started to see things that question our choices to be with this person. That might have been a red flag. We learned and we listened to the red flags. We learned that difficult times would always come, but we also learned that we needed to pray and ask God for transparency for what might be an issue down the road. We also learned that we needed to pray together as a couple for each other, where we both prayed together. We learned to make prayer a vital part of our relationship, and there's the link to that video. Okay, I'm putting this all on a playlist, so when you follow the playlist, it's going to play one right after the other. So in step 4, we begin to see things. We begin to see things in that dating relationship that we may decide we don't want to go any further into it. We need to make sure that we stop in session 4 in your relationship with somebody new, and we need to evaluate that. We need to evaluate those things. And if you're not praying with your partner, if that's not something that you do, you need to get into that. You need to pray for each other, and you need to make prayer a vital part of your relationship. It needs to continue even into the marriage, okay? So in step 5, we learn how to deal with these difficult situations. We learn to practice being humble with each other, being humble with and towards each other, and in return, we learned a valuable lesson in forgiveness. As for my wife and I, we encountered issues with her children and with her ex. We worked through it and realized we came out of the issues stronger as a couple. And here you can refer to video 5 on that subject, okay? So as I put another slide on the screen here, I'm going to take a little drink. Okay, in step 6, we made a commitment to meet each other's parents. We fully accepted the fact that children are going to be a part of our life together. We worked on building contentment with each other regardless of the sacrifice it would take, and at that moment we learned what being a servant was all about. As for my wife and I, we worked through the Heart Refinement program together, and we learned the roles of being servant guides and servant nurturers. So you can check out video 6 up there to understand what I'm talking about, okay? Now we have arrived at step 7 in our dating again after divorce playlist, and this is the desire to get married. We got engaged. I purchased her an expensive engagement ring, and I proposed, okay? However, friends, getting engaged is also about mobilizing to move in together, to make changes, and that is not easy. Now we can talk about the 3 points of step 7. Okay, so that first point that I wanted to talk about when I started out was accountability. Okay, when we get engaged, we got to make sure that we're accountable, but we got to make sure that our partner is also accountable. Okay, as I read from the slide here, do you think getting engaged created a factor for accountability? Accountability is an assurance that an individual or a couple will be evaluated on their performance or behavior related to something for which they are responsible. Accountability works a lot like the following picture of applying drywall mud to sheetrock walls and installing in step 6. Okay, now we need to seal the walls. Let's look at some pictures. Okay, before I put the next slide on the wall, what I do, friends, is what we do is we're building an emotional house together. So the house behind me that you see on the wall, we're going to live in a house like that. Then you might live in a house like that. I used to live in a house like that. Now I live in a different house. But in that house, we live as husband and wife when we get married. And in that house is our home. Our hearts are affected by our home. So you need to understand that what you're doing is you're building a home. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the elements of building the house as it compares to building a home for our heart. And if you watch the videos before this, you know that I put pictures in the video that I showed you. What I've done since I've done those videos is, first of all, I moved to a new house, so you can see my background is different. But second, I learned how to manage and conquer Windows Movie Maker. So that's why this video is different, and from now on you're going to see nice videos. And if I'm silent for a little bit, you're going to hear some background music. All right, my friends, let's put a picture on the wall here. Okay, so as you can see, this picture is the first step to applying tape over the joints to seal them. So in this video, you're seeing that they put a blue tape over the joints. Okay, and this slide here is another way that that they can mud. And so I use paper tape and wire mesh tape. I use the wire mesh tape more on joints, but in my inside corners and up along my ceilings, I'll use the paper tape just because it bends easier. But what I'm trying to indicate with these pictures, friends, is that it takes time and a lot of work to build an actual house that you're going to live in. So why not take the time to build the home that you're going to share with somebody else that's in your heart? Okay. Now let's look at the next step that we take in this session of engaging in this house. So the second, we apply metal or plastic corners. You can see in this slide they have metal edges all the way around that, and they're taking a tape and they're putting that paper tape over the joint, because sometimes the metal edge will crack on corners of houses and stuff, and so they take a paper tape and they keep that so that seam don't crack down there. Okay, so that's showing a prepared readiness for anything that might happen. And in an engaged relationship, if you don't take the time to do the dating period right, you're going to have cracks in your marriage. Okay, let's look at another slide here on the video here. Third, we apply 3 coats of mud, drywall joint compound, and you can see that there's a person applying a coat of mud to the walls there. Well, we apply 3 coats of mud and they get wider and wider and wider. Again, I'm telling you the work that it takes to engage in finishing a house. Okay. In this video picture here, it shows sanding it down. So we have to sand down everything that we put mud on. Okay. Now in this video here, in this picture here in this video, we spray a texture over the wall. So I like to do a knockdown texture. Some people like an orange texture, orange peel texture. Some people like a smooth wall, but I like to do a knockdown texture. Again, all that takes time, right? And let's put up another slide, and I'm going to start reading to you again. Okay. This is accountability when finishing your house before you can move in together. To hold oneself accountable means to own one's feelings and take responsibility for one's contribution to the relationship. Good and bad. If both people are accountable, one would work at changing their conduct, and the other would work at managing their feelings better. Accountability is not a form of punishment. The word accountable means answerable to actions or decisions. To hold someone accountable means that person is being asked to explain why they did or didn't do something. In our personal lives, we hold people accountable all the time. Accountability is the key to a good relationship. The standard antidote for relationship problems seems to be good communication. We put emphasis on talking things out, but often, no matter how much we talk, our problems don't get resolved. Before we throw in the towel, let's consider this. Talking is not enough unless we hold ourselves accountable. To hold oneself accountable means to own one's feelings and taking responsibility for one's contribution to the relationship, good and bad. If both people are accountable, one would work at changing their behavior and the other one would work on managing their feelings better. Okay? I'm going to take that picture off the slide here. I want to talk to you a little bit before I move on to my last slide in this teaching. I want to talk about accountability versus judgment. A lot of times in relationships, we have a tendency to judge each other. Judgment is different than accountability. Accountability means you know that person, you understand that person, and then you hold each other accountable. Okay, so when you get into a relationship to get engaged, you should know the heart of that other person. They should know your heart. Okay, sometimes we have to hold each other accountable, but we don't have to stand in judgment against each other. That's where marriages fail before they even get started. Okay, let's go back and let's check out the last slide here. As you can tell, the slide's on the wall now. Often we reach roadblocks despite being upfront and honest because we fail to bring the solutions into our everyday lives. Accountability is what helps us implement the solutions. Lack of accountability is when you apologize but don't change your behavior. Acknowledging how you may have hurt your partner and what more you have to bring into the relationship is step one. The more important thing is to make the changes. Saying one thing and doing another is the biggest deal breaker. It compromises trust and reliability and makes the other partner insecure. One of the most challenging things in a relationship is to find the balance between me and we. But if me wins over we more often, it might be time to reevaluate things. Now let's talk about key point number 2, getting engaged. Key point number 2, getting engaged. Getting engaged should not just mean plan the engagement and getting the ring on her finger or even saying yes to him. We should look at getting engaged as engaging in life. Let's take a look at a video clip I filmed several years back when I was preparing for this teaching series. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this slide presentation in this first part of this teaching. This is part 1. What we're going to do, friends, is we're going to walk through a basement that I refinished, and the drywall work was done. The pictures show you how we got there, okay? But what I want to do, friends, is I want to show you what it means to finish the drywall inside of a house to prepare for paint. So we're going to watch that video, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk about the security of getting engaged. Thank you for watching, and check out the next part of this video.
Well, here we are again, folks. We're on the last level of our Dating Again book called Engagement. As you see, we're walking around down here. I have finished the drywall. I have textured this ceiling. The walls, as we see, we'll walk around here. They've been textured. Okay. Engaging in a dating relationship or a work relationship or going to school, what all does that mean? We have to understand that in the Jesus book on Jesus's life, being engaged in a situation has a lot to do with being accountable to it, okay? So I'm going to turn this phone around and kind of let you see the actual textured stage. As you see, there's going to be a mess here. The mess has to be cleaned up. I got to be accountable to clean it up. All right, so I'm going to turn this phone around. I'm going to talk to you while we're walking through here, okay? So this is the end of the texture stage. The walls and the ceilings have been textured. The beadboard will stay. It'll just be trimmed out. Okay, the texture is done, as you can see. And I did do a light sanding down on it, okay, to get the roughness off, but it is a knockdown texture, and I think it actually looks pretty good considering some of the areas. So that's actually what knockdown texture looks like for those of you that have not seen it before. Okay, and as we're being accountable to this project, we've got to finish it out, okay? So we're in the bathroom. Let's talk about what this looks like, okay? All right, we have, everything's been textured, and I gotta be accountable, and I gotta hook up the shower and the tub and the faucet. I gotta get the toilet set in here, I gotta get the vanity set in here, I gotta hook up the light. But as you can tell, the texture's done, but there's a big mess here. Yeah, some people would probably cover the floor with plastic or paper, but I just normally scrub it up to save time on the job, I guess, because all that dust is gonna fall, and this side's already been cleaned a little bit, but that's part of getting engaged in the job. This wall is, we decided to patch the holes and smooth out the concrete and then paint the concrete, but the concrete has divots in it, as you can see. Okay, so those are patchwork to patch it, because it's going to look a whole lot better with the finished basement if that's smooth, and maybe we can put some kind of a texture over it or something. Okay, so that's actually being engaged in the job. Okay, so when you're in a relationship, the last level that we come to is being engaged before marriage, okay? In a work situation, you're actually engaging in the job when you're spending all your time there. You know, you might have went to college to learn the degree that you're working on to be engaged in that job, so that's important. But the most important part about being engaged, either in a job or school or in a dating relationship, is you got to be accountable. You got to be accountable to your partner, okay? Got to be accountable to the job, and we learn that from the life that Jesus lived. So that's important to understand. Accountability and engagement fits the same character and quality. So we got one more process we have to do here, okay, before people can start moving into this basement. Okay, we got to install a door there and a door there, okay. The customer is going to do the trim, but I'm going to do the hang the door and put the lock set in it. Okay, also got to, like I said, we got to put the vanity and the toilet in and finish this out, okay. So in the third level of our book, it's called Life, okay, and we're filling and equipping this home in order for people to move into it. So the next level in the next video series that I'm going to do is going to be on filling and equipping the house, which is your heart. How do we fill and equip that heart to allow somebody else to come into that heart? Because the first thing that we did is realize that we needed a new heart, Jesus' heart, okay? And we realized that we needed to learn God's heart and Jesus' heart, and so we studied the fruit of the Spirit. And we realized that we needed to learn the life of how Jesus lived and build our house on his life, and that's basically what these last 7 or 8 videos is all about. But now we're going to have to talk about that life. We're going to have to build a life in this basement, and I'm going to talk to you about that when I put the doors on and the lock sets and get all that done. Because if we skip some of these parts, we're going to go through life being lost and confused. And like I said, I'm teaching you heart knowledge versus Bible knowledge. Okay, so many times we go through life and we just don't know how to get there, and so hopefully these videos and the textbooks will help you. So I'm going to close this teaching series out. This teaching series is dating again and building your house on the rock of Jesus Christ. It's very important that we go through this. Okay, so I'll be seeing you again in the 3rd level, and we'll talk about filling and equipping this basement so people can move in here. Okay. So until then, God bless, and remember that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except through him. Have a good day, and may God bless you.
Well, hello friends, I'm back from that video, and as you can tell, when I made that video, I had a big old long beard that was growing pretty good. I enjoyed that beard, but my wife may not like that. So in that video, you seen a big mess that I made. Okay, I had to clean it up, so we talked about that. So we need to talk about security, and when we finish a house like that, it secures the wall joints, so when the ground moves and it shifts, we don't have cracks that happen. If we didn't apply all that mud and sand it down in texture and get ready for paint, it wouldn't look as beautiful as it does in the finished project. But if we painted over what was there before we put mud over it, it would be disgusting, and you would see the nails, you would see the cracks and the joint corners and everything. So the same thing works when you're getting engaged. You want security, okay? You want to make sure that everything is wonderful and beautiful before you get married. So let's talk about security for a little bit, and I'm going to put some slides on the wall here, and we're going to finish this teaching series out. Let's play this series on getting engaged. So let's take a look at this slide as I put it on the wall next to me. Okay, so let's talk about building security. A secure relationship is a relationship where the people will involved trust one another. Also, not feel anxious or afraid, and believe the other person loves them. Okay? I'm going to repeat that. That's very important. A secure relationship is a relationship where the people involved trust one another. Also, not feel anxious or afraid, and believe the other person loves them. Okay? It does not mean a relationship you believe will never end. There's no such thing as a never-ending relationship. Your partner could always have a heart attack and get hit by a bus tomorrow, but it's a relationship where you believe your partner does not want to leave you. Okay? So to understand the points here of what a secure relationship looks like, I have made some key points, and you see them on the slide here. And I actually have 2 slides, actually 3 slides in this presentation that we're going to talk about. But we're going to talk about the key points of what a secure relationship looks like, okay? Number 1, the people involved do not control each other. Number 2, the people involved are not jealous or possessive of each other. Number 3, they do not have to know at every moment where the other person is. They do not check up on phone, text, or social media, and do not demand an accounting of all the time spent every day. Okay? Next point here. They mutually work for one another's happiness. They each respect the other's boundaries and privacy. They communicate openly and honestly, even about things the other person may not want to hear. They share their thoughts, feelings, and ideas without fear. They are authentic with each other. This is, they do not try to hide things about themselves or be who they are not. They do not judge one another. They accept normal human failures, flaws, and imperfections and forgive reciprocally one another's errors. They allow one another space for hobbies, pastimes, and events that do not include the other. A lot of times, my friends, we get caught up in what we want from the other person, and we fail to realize what we should be giving them. Truly loving somebody means laying your life down for that person and serving that person. If you're going to be the husband, you need to lead her from a sacrificial heart. If you're the wife, you need to nurture him from a servant's heart. Same thing, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at what a secure relationship feels like, okay? In the last slide, we talked about what a secure relationship looks like. Now we're going to talk about what a secure relationship feels like. Okay? You do not feel threatened, frightened, or jealous of your partner's friends, acquaintances, coworkers, and so on. You believe your partner will be there for you, and you will be there for them. Your partner's happiness is part of your own. You do not feel anxious or jealous when your partner is there. You do not feel intrusive fear or anxiety that you are not good enough or not worthy of your partner's love, or that your partner will leave you. Some good points here, people. Make sure you listen. You feel that of all the people in the world, your partner chose you because they wanted to be with you. You do not feel like you have a limited time with your partner, spending time with other people, because you do not believe that your partner will abandon you if someone better comes along. You believe that giving free rein to do anything they want, your partner will make choices that cherish you and your relationship. You do not need to control your partner to protect yourself, because your partner wants to be with you and cherishes you. You do not feel the need. You do not feel that there are things you cannot say to your partner. You feel like you can say anything, from honey, I backed up the car into a tree, to honey, I have a foot fetish. What do you think? Without fear of being judged. If my wife came and told me she had a foot fetish after years of being married, I might be a little shocked. Okay, next point. You love and accept your partner and make a safe space for your partner to say anything to you without being judged. Remember, I talked to you about the difference between accountability and judgment. There it is. Okay? You love and accept your partner and make a safe place for your partner to say anything to you without being judged. Okay, I read it again. You'll feel confident that your partner is your ally, even when you disagree or argue. You are not afraid of your partner. Okay? Sometimes we get caught up in what other people think our relationships be, and we fail to understand what we want it to be or what God says it should be. And if we're not following Jesus Christ to make our relationship the best that it can be, we're failing each other. My last slide is on the screen, friends. Let's finish up this study. You feel gratitude for the choice your partner has made to be with you, rather than entitlement to your partner's time, attention, affection, or body. You realize that all relationships are voluntary, and the choice your partner has made is a gift to you. You treat that gift with respect. You feel empowered in the relationship, empowered to express yourself, to reach for your dreams, and be who you are. The relationship does not hold you or your partner back. Next point. You feel that being with your partner makes it easy for you to express the best parts of yourself. And last point. You feel that your partner respects your privacy, limits, and boundaries. If you can feel this much security from your partner, then maybe moving into marriage is a good place to head. If not, it is never too late to back out. Also remember that what you are doing is building a home together that must hold both of your hearts as well as any children you bring into your union with you. So where do we go from here? How do we fill our home with the life of another person and make the marriage work till death do us part? Okay. As you can tell, the slide left the screen. So where do we go? How do we fill our home, which is our heart, with somebody else? How do we make it work? How do we make it work? Okay, I just shared 7 videos with you in this playlist that talk about dating again after divorce. Okay, when you've been married for a long period of time and you get a divorce, you lose focus. You get to a point when you realize that you don't know the path that you need to be taking. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, there's only one path that you can take, and that's to follow Jesus Christ. If you have not accepted Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior and follow Him, you're going to have a hard time making your marriage work. Okay, this next series that I'm going to be doing after this series, and it'll be a while, but it's filling your house with the life of another person. And we're going to be doing pictures, and we're going to be doing video comparisons as I speak to you. And this will be a Marriage Made in Heaven series. But until then, may God bless you. May God's face shine upon you. And may Jesus always bring you joy. Until the time that we meet again, check out my playlist series called The 23 Steps to Following Jesus. And that's my last video that I'm going to share as I walk away. Thank you, and may God bless.